Okay. We'll get to the debate in a moment. As we said just a moment ago, the president held an event on the South Lawn of the White House yesterday, and while people were not socially distanced, many, but not all, were wearing masks. Having said that, that's a lot better than 2 weeks ago at the event for Judge Amy Coney Barrett, where people were packed in, almost no masks, and Dr. Fauci has said that that event was a super spreader. Question, why did it take the president getting COVID for the White House to take the CDC safety guidelines more seriously, although even yesterday they were still violating some?
Well, at that Amy Coney Barrett event, look, I think most of those people, if not all of those people, were tested for coronavirus before sitting down for that event. And you never hear, Chris, on the other side of the coin, the fact that we have had in this country since really the height of the COVID days, these demonstrations across America, riots in the streets, peaceful protests, some of them, many of them not peaceful, all across America, but you never hear any concern after these things about those being super spreader events. I have yet to hear one doctor say anything about them. I have yet to hear one media outlet say anything about those. It doesn't seem like coronavirus would have a political agenda, but oftentimes it feels like it does because those events are never talked about as being an issue. So, look, the White House has always followed guidelines. They've always either tested people before they're around the president, or whenever there's not testing available for the number of people that are there, encourage people to wear masks. And honestly, if we all look at this from the same perspective, it doesn't seem right that we're criticizing one event and not another.
Well, I take your point about the protests, but that doesn't make what happened at the White House, which, as I say, Tony Fauci says was a super spreader. At least 8 people at that event later came down with the virus, including the president and the first lady. I got to ask you, because you were there, about another event, which was the first debate 12 days ago in Cleveland. The Cleveland Clinic's rules were very clear. Everyone in the audience had to wear a mask, but after the first family came in with masks, you all took them off. Did you think, Lara, that the rules that applied to everybody else in that hall didn't apply to you?
Well, of course we didn't think that. And first of all, I'll say that everyone in there, Chris, was tested and tested negative for COVID, at least in our family, before we even got on the plane to head out to Cleveland. And we walked in with the masks on. We sat down. All of the seats were socially distanced. And I've heard you actually say this many times. I want to be very clear. Never one time did anyone from Cleveland Clinic come up and ask any member of our family to put a mask on. So that is totally false. I know that notion has been out there. That is not true. We were respectful to people around us coming in. We wanted to do that, to walk in with the mask on. We sat down. We didn't move from those seats until the very end, until it was all over. And we felt like we were being safe. Those are the same guidelines applied to restaurants. Those are the same guidelines applied to many outlets across America. And the fact that we had tested negative, Chris, I mean, you know, look, we followed the rules that as we thought that they were given to us.
Well, I don't want to belabor this. I'm going to move on. But everybody in that hall had tested negative. I had had a test 3 days before. You couldn't get in the hall without testing negative. And the fact is, the rules were everybody except for the president, the vice president, and I were supposed to wear masks. And it was the Pool report. I'm not just making this up. The Pool report says that a member of the Cleveland Clinic, and in fact, there's video that exists coming up to somebody in the presidential party and saying, would you like masks? And they were waved away.
Well, they didn't ask any member of our family. What I understood afterwards is that Colby Covington, who was sitting behind me, had a MAGA mask on, and they didn't appreciate that, apparently. So I think they were coming up to offer him maybe a different mask. That's all I can tell you about it. But never once, Chris, was anybody from our family asked to put a mask on.
I want to ask you